Hi everyone, welcome to another watercolor tutorial. We're painting a Christmas card today. So it's going to be candles surrounded by winter greenery. So I'm going to sketch out the candles first because it'll give us a better idea of the placement of the greenery. So I was debating portrait or landscape, and yeah, maybe landscape would be yeah, commit. No. Yeah, let's just do portrait. So I'm going to sketch out my candles. One is going to be higher than the other. They're going to come down like this. And there's going to be one that's being overlapped by that one. I want it to be a little bit wider, actually, both of them. So something like that. So as long as you have your general placement, that is the most important thing, I would say. And then you can leave a little gap at the top for like a holiday greeting or whatnot. So this is inspired by Silver Brush Ltd. And yeah, so I'm gonna start with my pine cones. I think that's the easiest thing to do. I'm gonna have a pine cone that's facing like that way, and then one that's facing head on probably. So I've dipped my paintbrush in brown watercolor. Could be like a tad bit more watered down than you would typically be used to. And there's so many different ways to paint pine cones, and honestly, I kind of paint a different way every single time I paint a pine cone. I did water down my paintbrush quite a bit, but it's still really dark for some reason. Because I wanted to later go back in and like add shading. So I do have a couple of pine cone tutorials on my channel if you're not really sure how to paint them, or like you're having trouble following along with how I'm doing mine here. So totally check those out if you're interested. Oh man, I just don't feel very good. I thought it was the coconut cream that I ate, because it's like way too much fat at once. I had an extra like bit of coconut cream in the fridge left over from a recipe, and yeah, I've done this before where when I eat something like mega high in fat, like once I made myself this hot chocolate that was made out of cashews, coconut cream, and I think there was avocado in there. So it was like basically purely fat, and I felt so sick afterwards. And yeah, so I thought it was that, because it was really good. I took the coconut cream and I added cacao powder and stevia, and it was like this chocolate mousse. So good. But I feel really sick now. Okay, so that's my second little pine cone. And now we could go in, now that we have like the base laid out, and we can add highlights or lowlights, whatever you want to call it, to the to each, I was gonna call them shingles. What are they called? Each one of the little pieces that make up a pine cone that squirrels seem to love disassembling in front of my door and at the base of every single tree. The little I don't know what they're called, but I'm sure you guys will tell me. You're really good at dropping the facts. By adding that little bit of like black or even brown helps add a little bit more detail to the otherwise very simple pine cones. Kind of ruined it by blending it all together, but I'll probably go back in there and fix that afterwards. Okay, so while that is drying and doing its thing, actually, sorry, I am going to do it now because I don't want it to dry and then, you know, have issues with adding stuff later because it won't blend in really nice if it's dry. So I'm just going in with a liner brush and adding black in totally random spots, and hopefully that will work out. Okay, so I'm gonna now start on the greenery. So take any green. Honestly, if it's too light, then add black or brown to it. Yellow to make it warmer, blue to cool it down. There's so many tutorials on color theory and the color wheel, so please check them out if you're unsure. Actually, sorry, we're first going to paint the candles because I'm going to paint greenery on top of the candles, and I don't want them to, like, I want the candles to already be set. So I'm taking gray for my candles, and I'm running it along the sides. And then I'm going to blend it out. Thing is, I have a bit of red on my paintbrush from a previous painting, which is quite annoying. Because obviously red and green do not jive. Just gonna do the other one. Blend that out. And don't forget the top. I'm really roughing these candles because they're not going to be the focal point. It's kind of like the greenery and everything. It's going to be like a little abstract thing, so it doesn't have to be hyper precise. But anyways, that's good enough for the candles, because now we're going to focus on the greenery, spruce it up, make it really nice. So I'm going to have like one pine branch coming out over here with a bunch of pine needles. So I just drew one line, and then I'm adding these hairline thin needles to it. And I'll go in a second time to darken it a little bit and thicken up the strokes. This is my, I think, 17th tutorial in the last week that I'm filming. You've probably heard me say, oh, I'm filming this in May. Yeah, it's still May. So I've really been making an effort to try and get all my tutorials done like within just a couple of weeks for the entire year. And I can't say quite why yet, because it's still May and not much has developed. And because I'm painting all of the year, like I won't be in real time until 2025, which I guess when you see this, it'll only be a few weeks away. But yeah, I'm trying to pre-paint, get ahead of things, have my bases covered, and I am just really tired of painting. I'm kind of on a roll, I must say. Like I'm really, I have lots of inspiration to paint. I have lots of ideas and references, but it's still exhausting when that's all that you're really doing. Like as soon as my baby goes down for a nap, I am in my bathroom painting. I don't do very much else for like free time. Although yesterday was Mother's Day and it was such a nice day. It was like, they were calling for rain the entire weekend and it rained like a tiny bit, but it was so warm and mainly sunny. And so I spent the entire day, not the entire day, most of the day in the garden, planting all the vegetable seedlings and putting seeds in the ground. And I couldn't believe that I basically planted almost everything already by Mother's Day. Like usually I wait till the May 24th long weekend in, I don't know if that's a thing in the US, but in Ontario it is at least. And yeah, usually I wait till then because our last frost date is a bit later, but I looked at the forecast for the next week and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take a little bit of a gamble and plant everything because the nights look really good, look really warm. And I planted everything and I was talking to my husband saying, how is it possible that I already have everything in the garden? Like, I don't feel like I've spent very much time in there. Last year, I was basically drowning to keep up every single week. Like I was pulling 8-hour days for what seemed like 2 months just to weed and get everything in the ground. And so I'm trying to figure out where like, how is this possible? And my husband thinks it's just like when you have a kid, when you have a baby, you can't just dilly-dally. You really have to make use of the free time that you have. And I guess he's right. Like I have spent very little of my free time doing nothing and wasting time. Sorry, just a pause here. I've taken a slightly bigger brush and what I'm doing is blending out a little bit of the pine branches, and mind you, they're probably mostly dry, but that's okay, and that's actually probably ideal. I just want a little bit of volume because it was looking a little sparse, if you know what I mean. So that will certainly help kind of volume things up, if you know what I'm saying. So, where am I here? So the reason, yeah, my point is like, I can't believe that I've painted so much, like just like I've planted so much in the garden. I can't believe I've painted so much. And yeah, I think my husband's right. It's because you can't wait. Well, of course you can, but I have a lot of goals. I have a lot of things I want to get done. So you can't waste time when you have a baby. You use the tiny amount of time that you have and you make the most of it. I'm just adding wicks to my candles here with black and a liner brush, since the candles seem to have dried. I wish they were a little bit more white. Actually, we can adjust that by using white acrylic paint. So although I'm in a bit of a pickle here because I already painted my greenery. I think I'm trying too hard with this, adding the white. I think I should just be content with how the candles looked. And I also don't like that the pine cones dried to be really flat looking, so I am going back in with just brown and adding a bit of texture. I think I'll add a bit of black to that as well. And the other thing that I wanted to do is add red berries. We cannot forget about our red berries. This arrangement in general ended up looking much smaller than I was envisioning. So I'm gonna make the berries large in comparison. And definitely have them overlapping each other, the berries and some of the pine. So I'm adding these to a few spots around just to fill in some of the gaps. And that's really starting to make the painting come together. So before it was definitely lacking a little bit of something. Like so. And I do want to add more green details in general to the pines. Pine branches, I should say. Someone once corrected me on that. They were like, it's pine needles, not pines. And I know it is, but sometimes, like when I'm painting, it's kind of hard to think about what I'm saying at the same time. So sometimes I just say things that it's not exactly what I intended to say. So forgive me. And we also have to add the little, whatchamacallit, stems. Boom. Oh, and I hope I don't mess this up by doing this. I'm gonna let these berries actually dry a little bit, but once they're a little bit more dry, I'm gonna smudge them out like I did the greenery. If I do it now, it'll just turn into like an oval shape instead of a berry with a shadow. So I'm gonna wait a bit on that, and while I'm waiting on that, I'm gonna pick up yellow, and we're gonna paint the flames of our candles. So it's very simple, just paint a little circle and add a point to it. And, you know, you can go back in and try and overdo it like I'm inevitably going to do. So I'm taking a bit of black and just, that did not work how I wanted it to. So I'll take a bit of orange instead and make the center a little bit more pronounced, like so. Not too bad. I kind of wish they were a bit lighter. I think that was, adding that black was not necessary. So let me try and lift some of that out. And I think that these berries might be dry enough. I'm really nervous. Let's see. Yep, I think they're dry enough. So I'm just going in and adding a little bit of like a shading underneath them to drag out a little bit of red. Oops, it's a bit too much. No, those were not dry enough. That's definitely not dry enough. Whoops, okay. See what I mean? When I say they won't be shadows, but more like blobs, yet I keep going. Why do I keep going? Because I'm stubborn. Yeah, just wait a bit longer until yours are a bit drier. So one other thing I want to do is take white acrylic paint and add little like highlights to the berries. And that looks quite nice. I like the red, you know, kind of screwed up, but it's not too bad. I could technically wait for this to completely dry and go back in and kind of make the berries more pronounced again and berry-like rather than red blobs, but I don't mind. I like it. The thing is, this painting turned out to be a little bit smaller than I thought it was going to be, and we still have to write Merry Christmas. I am a little bit nervous to do that though, because I tend to mess up the font, so I might just add it with Photoshop later, but I will make an attempt. Let me just write Merry Christmas with a pencil. And if I like how it looks, the other thing that that I find is that I have trouble with making it straight. If you know what I mean. So maybe if I give myself a little underline, that is definitely not, I don't want to go like this because it's not totally dry. Should I attempt it? I know you guys are saying yes, yes, attempt it. So I am going to. I always have trouble with S's. Okay, that didn't turn out half as bad as I thought it was going to. One thing I want to do real quick is just add like these extra little markings. Maybe not to all the letters, but where space allows. I'll probably end up doing all of them. Kind of wish I didn't do all of them, but it is what it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and I will be sure to see you in the next one.